Hello, Aisha. How are you today? How's your day going, huh? I kind of got disappointed because I forgot that you don't stream on Tuesdays. I was like, oh, oh, oh. But it's just what it is. I'm closing my mouse. But anyway, how's your day going? Oh, by the way, I should mention I am in Discord live chat if you want to join in. Actually, anybody can join in if they. Why am I tiny? Why am I tiny? That's not what I wanted. That's a little better. You're not that much smaller than me. Although I could throw you if I wanted. I could probably throw you, sure. Would it be worth getting your ire? Probably not. Homepage. No. Why is that a no? I feel like the music's loud. Yeah, that's decently loud. That's a little better. But other than that, how's your day going? What happened? I heard a click. I heard a thing. Is that from YouTube side? It is not from YouTube side. But anywho. Why is today just Aisha? Huh? Did something happen? Do I need to kill somebody? Do I need to kill somebody? I'll do it. I'll do it. At your behest, I will commit a murder. I'm actually feeling good today. I'm feeling good. But why big sad? I'm here. I'm right here if you need to talk. Discord's live and open. Oh, that's unfortunate. I lost a subscriber, but that's okay. It is what it is. I better put on something in the background for y'all. Okay. Ooh, Alien Isolation 2. They're talking about it. Where's that sound coming from? There it is. That's where the fucking sound's coming from. Okay. That's where it came from. I'm gonna put on a YouTube video for y'all. Any preferences, Aisha? Ooh, by the way, Aisha, I just uploaded that short that you made of me the other day. I did upload that short that you made. I don't have a preference. Okay. And why are you saying oh no? Why are you saying oh no, Aisha? Did I do something wrong? Did I do something? Did I do something? Oh, wait, I better... But yeah, I'll be uploading a couple more shorts. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. We appreciate you up in here. You're a good being, and we appreciate you. And if your mental health is deteriorating, and if you need someone to talk to, my DMs are always open for you. Okay, let's see what video I can put on for y'all. YouTube is kind of flooded with some AI slop videos nowadays. There's so much AI, it's not even funny. Holy fuck! You fucking got me, you motherfucker. Hi, Lily. I was just casually scrolling through YouTube for a video for y'all to listen to while I edit videos, and all I get is a fucking jump scare in my fucking ear. Good fucking God, Lily. That's the first time you've actually gotten me in a long while. Holy shit. I was also going to be screenshotting a video to watch later. Okay. I swear, I thought I saw a couple videos that... this one's 58 minutes long. Hell yeah. The Alaskan Tree God.
Already using Visa or Amex, keep your rewards. Navon just handles the reporting. Even group trips are easy. Invite your team, set dates, and let Navon do the work. Fix these today and grab $500.
We're gonna skip, and we're gonna go to full screen.
If you know me, you know I'm always on the lookout for stories with new, terrifying monster encounters. Skinwalkers and Wendigos are nice and all that, but I crave something new. That's why today I'm excited to share with you a story I got from a user named Densif called The Tree God of Alaska. And if there's any truth to this story, then I should warn anyone living in or visiting Alaska that there might be something extremely dark and ancient lurking in the woods and around cabins looking
I know
for
for
its
a fact
target.
Lily is not sorry.
Believe what you will or won't.
I know for a
but
fact
this story
you
might
sorry,
be a
Lily.
good reason to stay away from Alaska.
I know for a fact you
Lee
aren't
died
sorry.
last spring. Pancreatic cancer, which is about as unfair as it sounds. But he went at home with his wife and kids around him, and I don't think he was scared. I drove up for the funeral, even though my back doesn't do well with long trips anymore. And afterward, his daughter Jenna pulled me aside and asked about the scar on her father's left hand. He never told me how he got it, she said. Every time I asked, he would say it was from a camping trip, but it always looked like someone bit him. I told her it was a long time ago, and I didn't remember the details. But she knew I was lying. Jenna was as sharp as her dad, but she let it go anyway. I'm an old man now. Lee was the best friend I ever had, and he's gone. And I think that means I can finally talk about what happened on the Dalton Highway in October of 1989. It's been decades. That's long. So, I met Lee sophomore year in the weight room at Central High. Neither of us belonged there.
You're a fucking menace to society, Lily.
And wrestlers, guys who moved through the
You're
hallways
a goddamn
like
menace.
And Lee and I were the kind of kids who ate lunch in the library and hoped nobody would talk to us. But we'd both gotten it into our heads that lifting weights might make us less invisible and make us want to be less invisible. So there we were, trying to figure out the bench press while a bunch of juniors snickered at us from the squat rack. Lee dropped a 25-pound plate on his foot the first day. Didn't even flinch. just picked it up and racked it like nothing happened. And when I asked if he was okay, he said, "I've had worse." We started lifting together after that, spotting each other mostly, though neither of us ever put up enough weight to really need it. Lee was funny in a way that snuck up on you. He had a deadpan, dark kind of humor. Could always find something absurd in anything. I learned about his home life in pieces over the next 2 years. His dad was a drinker who thought belts were for more than holding up pants, and his mom was a substitute who was somehow always busy, so she wasn't home to see the bruises. Or maybe she saw them and didn't know what to do. Lee never talked about it directly. He would say things like, "I'm staying at my grandma's for the weekend," when his dad was on a bender. Or he'd show up at school moving real stiff and say he had slept wrong. Junior year, his parents finally divorced. His mom moved them to a 2-bedroom apartment on the east side of town, and Lee seemed lighter for a while. But something had already settled into him by then, a sort of weight he had to deal with. He apologized all the time for things that were never his fault, or weren't even things at all. Sorry for being in the way, or sorry for talking too much, sorry for existing, basically. I didn't know how to help him with any of that. I was 19 and stupid, and my own parents were fine. Distant, at worst, but fine. I'd never been hit in my life, so I just tried to be there for him, which probably wasn't enough. Lee's big thing senior year was the van he got. He bought it off a guy named DJ, a '78 Dodge tradesman with rust along the wheel wells and an engine that sounded like it was coughing up a lung. The cool part? Well, DJ had started converting the back into a camper before his wife got pregnant, and he had to sell it. Lee finished the job over the winter. In the back was a plywood platform for a mattress, curtains his mom sewed from old bed sheets, a 2-burner camp stove that he mounted to a piece of plywood that was definitely not up to code. "We're going to Alaska," he told me in February of senior year, showing me the completed interior like it was the Sistine Chapel. "After graduation, the Dalton Highway, you and me." I asked him why Alaska, and he got this look on his face. He was serious. He kind of looked hungry too, but "because it's the emptiest place I can think of," he said. "I want to go somewhere so big and quiet that everything sort of just falls away." At the time, I wasn't really sure what he meant. I thought he was being dramatic, the way people are at that age. But I said sure, because Lee was my best friend, and because I didn't have any better plans. We left right after I'd failed to register for community college, and Lee had failed to find a job that didn't make him want to walk into traffic. The van made it through Montana, through the endless plains of Alberta, through the Yukon with its mountains that looked like God had crumpled up paper and forgotten to smooth it out. We broke down once near Whitehorse, the alternator, which cost us 3 days and most of our repair fund. But otherwise, the trip was the adventure we'd wanted it to be. Lee narrated the whole thing like he was hosting a nature documentary. He'd look out the window at a moose standing in a field and say, in something akin to a David Attenborough voice, "Here we see the North American moose in its natural habitat, contemplating the futility of existence." He made me laugh so hard once that I had to pull over because I couldn't see the road. We crossed into Alaska in late September. The light was already changing with those shorter days and longer twilights. We saw shades of purple I didn't know were possible. A week into Alaska, we stopped at a roadhouse about 50 miles south of the Yukon River crossing. The place looked like it might collapse any second, and the handful of locals inside looked at us like we were from Mars. Maybe we were, really. We got talking with one of them, a guy named Harold or maybe Howard, I can't remember. He was maybe 60, with a beard that had given up on being a particular color, and hands that looked like they'd done hard work most of his life. He asked what brought us up this way, and Lee told him we were driving the Dalton Highway to Deadhorse. "Bold choice for October," the guy said. "You boys know what you're getting into?" Lee said we did, though I don't think we did. The guy bought us around, First beer I'd ever had that wasn't stolen from my dad's garage fridge, and no one ID'd us, so that was great. They and we could have gotten in a lot of trouble. He then started to tell us about the area, the pipeline and the work camps, and the cold, especially the cold. Then Lee asked about local legends, which was something he always did wherever we stopped. He had a thing for that stuff, like ghost stories and folklore. He liked the idea that the world was more magical or strange than it looked. The guy got quiet, though, for a second, and I thought maybe Lee had offended him. But then he said, "There's the Mickelson place. That's not really a legend, though. That's just something that happened. I should note here that I'm changing the name of the place to avoid unwanted attention there. Anyway, apparently the Mickelsons were homesteaders, the guy told us. A family of 4, husband, wife, and 2 kids, who'd staked a claim about 40 miles north of where we were currently sitting back in the late 50s. They were found dead in the winter of 1962. Officially, it was ruled an animal attack, probably a polar bear, though that didn't make much sense given how far they were from polar bear territory. But that's what locals believed, because of the bodies. The bodies were wrong, the guy said, and he wasn't looking at us anymore. He was staring at his drink. You see, the father was in the root cellar with the door barred from the outside. The mother and kids were in the main room, but they weren't lying down like they'd been attacked. They were sitting down, arranged around where the table should have been. Except there was no table, just them sitting in a row, looking at nothing. Lee asked about the wounds. They looked like big bites with very sharp teeth that took its
Hi,
time.
Cafe Ryu. How are
real
you?
clean.
I'm just doing some video
This is why
editing while
people
this
think
plays
it's
in
a
the
polar bear
background.
that did it. Then Lee asked something that made me give him wide eyes. If the house was still there. The guy said it was, probably, if you know where to look, about 40 miles north, off a certain back road that didn't show up on the maps. Sure, I thought. Nobody goes out there, though, the guy said. Why not? Lee asked. That's when the guy stood up to leave.
Yeah, sleep schedules
told
are a
us.
pain.
Place feels wrong. Even the animals stay away from there.
Cool any room in 90 seconds with this NASA-engineered affordable device. It's smaller than a toaster.
Okay.
I was hoping Lee would forget about the story. I mean, people in bars aren't exactly the most trustworthy. But 2 days later, we made camp in a pullout about 30 miles north of the roadhouse.
Well, I'm
and
just
Lee
gonna
woke
be
me up
editing
before
some
dawn
videos
saying
for
he
the
wanted
next,
to go for a walk. It was
I don't know, 7
insanely
days
cold.
maybe?
Cold
Hard to
enough that
say.
my breath looked like
So,
dragon's flames, and my fingers were
So
numb
I'm
within
just having
minutes.
a creepypasta playing in the
The sun
background.
wasn't completely up yet. We
Because I
followed
find
what
if
looked
I
like an
don't
old
do it
trail leading
on
away from the
stream,
road.
I won't
I
do
wasn't
it
sure why
for
just yet.
weeks
Lee
at a
hadn't
time.
explained much if there was something to
And
explain.
if you're a
in
content creator
front,
that's
looking
no
like
good,
he
you
was
gotta
leading me
keep
somewhere.
uploading.
It didn't look like a casual morning
You
walk
gotta
to
keep
me,
uploading.
but I followed, because I always followed Lee. The landscape was tundra giving way to sparse black spruce, bunch of skinny half-dead trees all over the place, spaced far enough apart that you could see pretty far in every direction.
God.
There was no wind, though. Not really any sound, just our footsteps and breathing. I've been in quiet places before, but this gave me some weird vibes. We'd been walking for about 20 minutes when Lee stopped. Holy crap, he said. There it was. The house was smaller than I'd expected. Just a homestead cabin. Little thing, could have been built in a summer or 2 by hand. Half of it had collapsed where the
Yeah,
roof
I'm
caved
gonna
in,
take care.
and
I
the
try
remaining
to.
walls did not look stable. But there was a section that was still standing, intact enough you could probably go inside, if you really wanted to, and I didn't want to. Lee was frozen, not cold frozen, excited frozen. He stared at that house like he was expecting it to come alive and give him a hug. This is it, he said. This is the place the guy was talking about. I said it could have been any old cabin. There were probably dozens of these cabins out here, abandoned homesteads from people who'd come north looking for something and found out the hard way that Alaska does not give anything for free. But Lee shook his head at me. No, man. Look, I dreamed about this place. I raised an eyebrow. No, listen. 2 nights ago, I didn't tell you because it seemed stupid, but I dreamed about a house that looked exactly like this. The roof caved in, the door hanging open like that, all of it. I rolled my eyes. Man, that's just a coincidence. Or maybe you saw a picture of this place at the roadhouse somehow and it leaked into your brain. Lee didn't argue. He just kept staring at the place. Hey, we should go back. It's cold and I'm hungry, and there's not really much worth seeing here. Lee nodded, but he did it slowly. I could tell he didn't want to leave. But why, I wasn't sure. We turned around and started walking back toward the road. I was more relieved than I wanted to admit. Something about that place had gotten under my skin in a bad way. It wasn't really any reason I could understand yet. The house just looked like an old house, and the trees looked like trees. But standing there, looking at that partly collapsed cabin, I felt like I was being watched by something that didn't have eyes. We were almost back to the van when we heard something strange. It came from the direction of the house, a sound that I thought at first was wind moving through the collapsed structure. But as I said before, there was no wind. Then I thought it was an animal, a caribou or maybe a moose, making some kind of vocalization that I wasn't familiar with. It wasn't that either. It sounded like a caribou call, but wrong, stretched out, pitched low. It went on for maybe 5 seconds, then stopped. Did you just hear that? I asked Lee. He was standing by the van's passenger door, but he wasn't getting in. Now he was looking back the way we'd come, back toward where the house was hidden by sparse trees. Hear what? He said. That sound like an animal, or I didn't hear anything. I knew he was lying. I knew Lee well enough to know when he was lying. But his face was blank, and his eyes were fixed on that tree line, and he wasn't blinking. We should move the van closer to the house, Lee said. Man, why in the world would you want to do that? So we don't have to walk as far when we go back. Go back. I should have said no to him. Should have said we weren't going back, that we were getting back on the Dalton Highway and driving to Dead Horse, like we'd planned, forgetting about that house and the story that guy at the bar told us. But Lee was already getting in the van. I was freezing cold, so I didn't feel like arguing. I told myself it didn't really matter. It was just a house. We'd look at the house, creep ourselves out, then leave, and that would be that. I got in and started the engine. The thing coughed to life, and I pulled back onto the road, driving until we found a spot where I could pull off closer to where the house was, because that's what Lee wanted. We parked about 200 yards away, close enough we could see the roofline of the house through the trees, more like what remained of it. Lee was quiet now. When I looked over at him, he was still staring at the house. He looked weirdly satisfied, almost like he was getting off to the fact that we were so close to the place. I was so confused by him at the time. Like, what are we even doing, dude? But I didn't say anything. I didn't want to be whiny on the trip. I often go back to that moment a lot, now that Lee has passed, thinking about how easy it would have been to just keep driving from that point. To have put my foot down, telling him that we were leaving. End of story. But I didn't do that. And 200 yards away through the thin black spruce, the house waited for us. And so did something else. That night, the first night, Lee seemed fine. Better than fine, actually. He was animated, in a way that I hadn't seen him since we'd crossed into Alaska, telling stories about people from high school and laughing about his own jokes before he even finished them. We made dinner on the camp stove, canned chili, which we'd been eating so much of that I still can't look at it without feeling slightly sick. We played a few hands of rummy by the light of the
Yeah, I know.
lantern Lee had bought at a gas station in Whitehorse, and talked about nothing important.
Yes,
I kept
Lily.
glancing out the back windows. That house was out there, of course. Invisible in this darkness, sure, but I kept thinking about it. Lee wasn't as focused on it as he was before. Now
Yes,
he was shuffling
Lily.
the cards and talking about a girl named Marcy, who'd sat behind us in junior year in English. How he'd always wanted to ask her out, but never worked up the nerve. You should have done it, I told him. I think she liked you. I mean, she always laughed at your worst jokes. Whatever. She was laughing at Mr. Petey's toupee anyway, Lee said. I just happened to be in the way. He grinned. Besides, what would the plan have been? Take her back to my apartment so she could meet my mom's cat and see the water stain on the ceiling that looks like Nixon?
No, it was me. I had to
We
hear
turned in around
something,
11.
and it's
Lee
very
took the
loud for
mattress
me.
platform in the back. I'd gotten used to sleeping in the passenger seat, reclined as far as it would go, which wasn't far enough, but was better than sleeping on the floor. I fell asleep pretty quick. But I woke up because the van was moving. It wasn't being driven, but it was slightly rocking, like something or someone shifting their weight around. I opened my eyes and saw Lee sitting up in the back, his silhouette outlined against the window by the faint light of stars. He was staring at the house. I couldn't see his face, just the shape of him, motionless, except for his breathing. Hey, Lee. He didn't answer for a few seconds.
Okay.
Eventually, though, he did answer. Just looking. His voice was flat. Not like sleepy flat, but like he was emotionless. At what, dude? The house. It's pitch black out there, man. You can't see a thing. I know. He lay back down. I heard him pull the sleeping bag up around himself, and I heard his heavy, slow breathing. I told myself it was just a waking dream. The guy was just half asleep, disoriented, maybe had a nightmare or dream of some kind of the Mickelson story, and he woke up confused. But then I heard that sound again. That strange caribou call from somewhere outside. Closer than last time, but not right next to the van. Definitely closer. Not sure if whatever made it was closer to us, or if we were closer to it now. Lee, you heard it that time, right? Huh? He said. He didn't seem impressed or worried. Oh, yeah. What do you think it is? I don't know. I waited for him to say something else. Maybe sit up and investigate it with me or make a joke about it. But he didn't do that. He just lay there, and a few minutes later his breathing changed. He was asleep. But I didn't sleep the rest of the night.
Not sure if you saw the news, but Fox News is claiming President Trump is declining in the polls. President Trump responded and
Be gone,
It was snowing in
politics.
the morning. Couldn't tell if it was going to storm later or not. Lee was up before me, which really wasn't like him. He was the type to sleep until noon if you let him. But now he was in the driver's seat, drinking instant coffee from the metal cup we shared, looking out towards the trees. We should check out that house, he said
Okay.
when he
Have
heard
a
me
nice
move
nap,
around,
Aisha.
before the weather out there gets worse. I wanted to tell him no. I'd spent the last 4 hours of darkness lying awake, listening for that sound again, feeling like there was something outside. But it was daylight now, and in daylight things that seemed scary tend to seem more pathetic or not there. It was just an old cabin, old woods. Fine, I said. But I'd rather not stay too long, okay? The walk only took a few minutes, mainly because the snow started to come down harder. Up close, the cabin looked even more decrepit than it had from a distance. The door was open, not hanging open like we first thought. It was standing open, like someone had pulled it wide and just walked away. Lee went inside first. The interior smelled kind of funny, and I tried not to assume it smelled like corpse, considering the legend we were told. It took a second for my eyes to adjust in the dimness. Then I really saw what was left of the place. Water damage had warped the floorboards and stained the walls. There was furniture left, but it had now collapsed into piles of wood and fabric that might have been a chair or a table, something that could have been a bed frame. But one room, through a doorway to the left, looked different. I followed Lee through that doorway and stopped. The room was intact, not just structurally. I'm not kidding when I say this. It looked preserved. No dust on the floor or animal droppings in the corners. The walls were clean, or as clean as walls could be after 30 years of abandonment. There was a window on the far side, clouded with grime but unbroken, and through it I could see the white sky and falling snow. "Look at this," Lee said. He was tracing his fingers along the wall nearest the door. I moved closer and saw what he was touching. Marks in the wood. Some kinds of patterns. Circles overlapping, scratched deep into the grain with something sharp. They covered the wall, hundreds of them. Layer over layer, like someone had spent years adding to it. "What do you think made these?" Lee asked. It creeped me out that he said,
you
"What?" instead
fucker.
of "who."
I'm gonna kill you.
I don't know, man.
I'm gonna kill
Someone
you.
crazy, probably. "These aren't random." He was still feeling them with his fingers, moving from
Okay.
one circle to the next. "There's a pattern. See how they overlap? It's like I don't know, man, like a language." I told him we should go. The smell was getting to me, and the room felt really weird, especially with those patterns. And with the way this room was, it felt like someone was still living here, and I didn't want to be around when they got back. That's when I saw the shoe. There was a shoe lying in the corner, a kid's shoe with a buckle across the top. It was old, with cracked leather but preserved by the cold. Right away I thought of the kids from the story, the Mickelson children, the ones that were found sitting by a table that wasn't there. I felt something real cold moving through my stomach. Lee walked over and actually picked it up. "Dude, put it down," I said. He looked at me and grinned. "It's just a shoe." "Yeah, but put it down." He did, but slowly. "Come on, let's leave," I told him. Lee shrugged his shoulders, but he followed me out of the house, back into the snow, and we walked to the van without talking. When I was about halfway back, I noticed Lee had fallen behind. I turned around and saw him looking down at his left hand. "What's wrong?" I cut myself," he said. He held up his palm. He was right. There was a deep slice across the meat of his hand, just below the fingers. Deep enough that I could see the dark red of the muscle beneath the skin. Red was running down his wrist and dripping onto the snow. "Oh my God, when did you do that?" I don't know." He was looking at the wound. I could tell he was confused and concerned. I didn't feel it." Back at the van, I dug out our first aid kit, wrapping his hand with gauze while he stood there. The cut was bad. He was probably going to need stitches. But Lee didn't seem bothered by the injury itself. He thanked me when I finished, flexing his fingers to test the fix, and he said we should probably head out. I agreed. I wanted to put as much distance between us and the house, what with all the strangeness piling up like this. When I suggested we drive south, back toward the roadhouse and then Fairbanks, Lee said he wanted to stay one more night. "But you just said you wanted to head out." He shook his head. "I meant after another night. I just remembered." He pulled his pack up to his chest, then pulled out a camera. "We should go get some photos of the house, in better light." "Your hand is gonna need stitches," I told him. "It's whatever, it doesn't even hurt." "Lee, One more night, then we'll go. I should have pushed him harder, or even threatened to walk away. But Lee was stubborn when he wanted to be, and I told myself at the time the cut wasn't that bad if that's how he was acting. So, one more night wouldn't make a difference. One more night. Lee didn't take any photos. The next morning, he said the light wasn't right. The morning after that, he said he didn't feel like it. And by day 3, he'd stopped mentioning the camera at all. By then, he wasn't even eating. When I made breakfast, he'd take a few bites, then set his plate aside, saying he wasn't hungry. He was sleeping all the time, 10, 12, 14 hours at a stretch. But he woke up looking more exhausted than when he'd gone to bed. He had dark circles under his eyes, and his skin was looking more and more pale by the day. He was saying things too, these utterances across conversations. Do you think people deserve what happens to them? He asked one day. What do you mean? Like if someone's already broken, maybe the world's just finishing the job, you know? I told him that was a messed up way to think about things. He shrugged, then changed the subject. On day 3, he said, "My dad said there was something wrong with me when I was born. Like there was something inside me that didn't work right." He hadn't mentioned his father in months, maybe longer than that. "Your dad was a jerk," I said. "He didn't know what he was talking about." Maybe. Lee was looking out the window again. He was doing that a lot now. What if he did? What if some people are just made for bad things to happen to them? I found him outside the van that night, standing in the cold without a jacket. It was 2 a.m. I'd woke up from a dream I couldn't remember, and I noticed the back door was open, snow blowing in onto the mattress. He was facing the house, standing there, arms at his sides, head tilted slightly, like he was listening to something. "Lee, what the heck are you doing?" He didn't turn around, but he said, "Listening." "To what?" "I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's like there's someone out there saying my name. Not quite, but almost like they're right on the edge of saying it." I grabbed his arm and pulled him back toward the van. His skin was ice cold. He'd been out there long enough that his lips were starting to turn blue. He came with me without resistance, climbing back into the van, letting me wrap a blanket around him. "We're leaving tomorrow," I said. "Okay." "I mean it, Lee. We are done out here." "Okay." He lay down and closed his eyes. In moments, he was asleep. The next morning, he was still sleeping when I got up. I found his sketchbook. Lee had always been a decent artist. Nothing professional, but he could draw a face that looked like a face, a tree that looked like a tree. He'd brought the sketchbook to document the trip, he said, to draw landscapes and capture something a camera simply couldn't. But the pages were filled with the same image, each and every one. And I had no idea what I was looking at. I'll describe it to you as best I can remember it. It was a very tall and a very thin figure, with an extremely long neck, longer than the body, rising from the shoulders and curving slightly before ending in a head tilted to one side, with a face that was blank, but not entirely featureless. The eyes were 2 slits, and he'd drawn this thing, whatever it was, over and over, page after page. Some versions were rough sketches and just a few lines. Others were detailed and shaded, clearly worked on for hours. In some of them, the figure was standing at the edge of a tree line. In others, it was closer, much closer, filling most of the page. In the last drawing, it was reaching out, I closed the sketchbook and put it back where I found it. I didn't say anything to Lee about it when he woke up.
Eve to me is basically freedom. It's a giant open universe where you can do whatever you want.
I heard the sound again that night. Closer than it had ever been. Right outside the van, at most 20 feet away from us. That stretched, horrible vocalization. I went outside. I don't know why. It was the middle of the night and freezing cold, and I knew. I knew that whatever was making that sound was something I did not want to meet. But I went. I went anyway. There I saw a shape at the edge of the tree line. In the dark, I could have told myself it was a dead spruce. The silhouette was roughly the right size, roughly the right shape, but there hadn't been anything there before. By that point, I knew every tree in that sparse forest. I had stared at them for hours while Lee slept, trying to convince myself that nothing was wrong, that we were alone like we were supposed to be. This was new, and it was too tall. And the top of it, the part that should have been branches, was tilted a bit. Whatever it was, it didn't move, but the sound was coming from its direction. I was sure of it. I went back inside, telling Lee we were leaving in the morning. He agreed immediately, which scared me more than if he'd argued. He was too agreeable sometimes, prone to changing his mind. Perhaps he was humoring me, like I was a child, afraid of something in the closet. That night, I wedged myself against the back doors and didn't sleep. Around 4 a.m., I heard Lee whispering. He was definitely asleep. His eyes were closed, his breathing slow and regular. But his lips were moving fast, sounds coming out. I couldn't make out any words. It wasn't much more than a murmur. There was frost on his breath, even though the heater was running full blast. I watched him until dawn. That next morning, Lee's hand had gotten worse. The wound was sort of gray-pale at the edges now. Dark lines were creeping up from the wrist, which meant infection, and that meant hospital, fast. "We have to get you to a doctor, man," I said. "It's fine." "It's not fine, Lee. Look at this." I pulled up his hand to show him. He flexed his fingers. I could tell it was hurting him, but beyond that, there was nothing else to his face. No worry, no concern. "It'll be okay," he said. "Lee, these lines mean the infection is spreading. If we don't get you antibiotics..." I said, "It's fine." His voice was different, harder than I'd heard it before. He looked up at me, and for a second I didn't recognize my best friend. He looked cold and hostile, like he was talking to a stranger now, or perhaps I was a threat to him. Then it passed. Suddenly, Lee's expression softened, and he rubbed his eyes with his good hand. I'm sorry," he said. "I'm just tired. You're right, we need to go back." That flip-floppiness again. I started packing up while Lee was in the passenger seat, staring out the window. He didn't offer to help. He sat there watching the tree line, his wrapped hand resting on his knee. When I got behind the wheel and started the engine, Lee spoke again. "I don't think I'm supposed to leave." "What?" "I don't know." He was still looking out the window, his voice distant and confused, like he was trying to describe a dream that was already fading. I just don't think I'm allowed." I put the van in gear and pulled onto the road anyway. We made it about 5 miles when Lee started to hyperventilate. He was gasping, clutching his chest, tears streaming down his face. I pulled over and he bolted out of the van before I could stop him. Just threw open the door and started back the way we'd come. I caught up to him on the shoulder of the road. he was trembling, mumbling things that didn't make sense. He knows me. I was already his. I have to go back. I can't leave. Lee, look at me, man. Look at me. His eyes were horrible. His pupils were massive, like he was in the midst of the world's worst trip. He looked at me, or perhaps through me, then said, I was always going to end up here. Don't you get that? Some people aren't just made for this. I grabbed him and began to drag him back to the van, practically. But he didn't put up a fight. Instead, he went limp, all the resistance draining out of him like water. I got him into the back and told him to stay there. Just stay there while I figured out what to do. I heard the sound again as I climbed into the driver's seat. The caribou call coming from somewhere behind us. Much closer. In the rearview mirror, I could see the tree line. And past that tree line, I could see... No, I couldn't have seen that. We were 5 miles from the house now. There was no way to see the house from here. But I saw it. I swear for a second, I saw it. Like the distance we drove never happened. I started to drive, and I didn't look back. We drove for 2 hours before I felt safe enough to stop. By then, we'd passed a work camp and a cluster of vehicles that might have been a surveying team, and the road felt like a road again, instead of a thread stretched across something that wanted to swallow it. I pulled into an actual campground, one with marked spaces and a pit toilet, and, most importantly, other people. A pickup truck with Oregon plates was parked 2 spaces over, and I could see a man and a woman setting up a tent in the fading afternoon light. Other people. Normal people doing normal things. I nearly cried with relief. Lee slept for 14 hours. I stayed awake for most of it, watching him breathe and waiting for him to start whispering again, or for his eyes to open with that wrong and empty look. But he just slept, deep and seemingly peaceful. The guy was exhausted. The color started to come back to his face around hour 10. And by 12 hours, he looked almost like himself again.
You don't pay big brand markups when you buy Aldi brand.
It's an Aldi
I'm
thing.
sorry. I asked him what he remembered. Not much, to be honest. He sat up, rubbing his face with his good hand. I remember the house. I remember feeling a certain way. Kind of like heavy. Like something was sitting on my chest that whole time. And then it's just pieces. Did I really try to walk all the way back? Yeah. I basically had to drag you back to the van. Jesus. He looked down at the bandaged hand, flexed his fingers. I feel like I've been sick for a month. What the heck happened to me? No idea. Once we got to that weird house, he just started acting strange, and it got worse till we drove away. But look, we need to go get your hand looked at before you die of an infection. There's a hospital in Fairbanks. Lee agreed. We set out the next morning, and I'll never forget what happened that night. The van's radiator had been threatening to overheat since Whitehorse. At about 4 hours south of the campground, it finally made good on that threat. The temperature gauge climbed into the red, and I pulled over before something expensive happened. We were in the middle of nowhere now. No work camps or surveying teams, just road and tundra and the mountains in the distance, already capped with snow. How long? Lee asked. It'll probably take a couple hours, I replied. We need to let it cool down completely before we add more fluid. He nodded. He'd been pretty quiet compared to his usual self during the drive, but it was a different kind of quiet, like thoughtful, instead of being vacant. My best friend was back, though he did look a bit worried now, which was good. He had been looking out at the landscape, really looking at it, like he was seeing it for the first time. "God, it's beautiful up here," he said. "I didn't notice it before." "Well, you were pretty out of it." "Yeah. Do you think there's something wrong with me? Like, fundamentally wrong?" I thought about his father. The years of belts and bruises and being told he was born broken. I looked at him. "No, Lee. I think some bad things happened to you, and you're still dealing with them. That's not the same as being wrong." Lee didn't reply, but I could tell some of the tension left his shoulders, and he smiled at me. We waited. The sun set. I'll tell you, there's nothing quite like the Alaskan sunset. It might be freezing cold out, but if you can endure it, you may just see the most beautiful sights in the world. We wrapped ourselves in sleeping bags and talked about what we would do when we got home, and whether Lee should see a doctor about more than just his hand, or places we would want to visit someday, places that weren't trying to kill us. Around 9 p.m., I fell asleep. I didn't mean to. I was exhausted. I'd barely slept in days, and the sleeping bag was warm. Lee's voice was familiar again and comforting, and at some point, my eyes closed and just wouldn't open again. I woke up suddenly because of the cold. This didn't feel like the cold of a heater that had been off for some time. It was sudden and sharp. Like a door open. I opened my eyes, and I saw that the passenger's side was empty. The door was hanging open. Outside, the stars were bright and hard, and the temperature had dropped to something that hurt to breathe. Lee was gone. I grabbed the flashlight from the glove compartment and went after him. His footprints were easy enough to follow in the thin layer of snow that had fallen while we slept. A trail of boot prints leading away from the van, toward the tree line about 100 yards to the east. I followed them quickly. The footprints ended at a pile of clothes. Lee's jacket, his shirt, his jeans, boots, socks, underwear, everything he'd been wearing was now folded neatly in the snow, like he'd taken them off with care and set them aside. Beyond the pile, a new set of prints continued toward the trees. Bare feet, Lee's. I ran after them. I found him about 100 yards past his clothes, still walking. The guy was naked now, his skin already turning colors I didn't want to think about, and he was moving with a steady stride, like someone going to meet a friend. His feet were leaving blood in the snow. The cold was already damaging the tissue, and he was walking on wounds that he apparently wasn't feeling. "Lee!" He didn't stop, and he didn't turn to me. He showed no sign that he had heard me at all. I caught up to him and grabbed him by the arm. His skin was ice, so cold it burned my palm. I pulled him around to face me, and what I saw made my stomach drop. His face was slack, peaceful. His eyes were open, but they weren't looking at me. They were focused on something past my shoulder, in the direction he'd been walking. There was this small smile on his lips, so satisfied, so comfortable. "It's better this way," he said. His voice sounded dreamy. "I was always going to end up somewhere cold." "Lee, we have to go back. You're gonna die out here." "I know, and that's okay. I was already his. I've been his the whole time. Probably always." I tried to reply, but my breath became a choking gasp, because I saw something then. Something at the tree line. I saw what was waiting for Lee. It was so tall, and so very thin, emaciated. Limbs so long and thin, they looked like tree branches. And the skin across the entirety of it was charred, dark and cracked like something had been burned, but was still somehow alive. There was nothing between its legs, just smooth, dark skin where anatomy should have been. Its neck, though, it rose from the shoulders and kept rising longer than the torso, longer than the arms, curving slightly as it went up, like the stem of a wilting flower. And at the top of that impossible neck was a head that lolled to one side, heavy, dangling at an angle that would have broken a human spine. The face had no mouth, no nose, and instead of eyes, I saw instead these long horizontal slits, like wounds that had never properly healed. And those slits were fixed on Lee with something I can only describe as patience. Whatever that freaking thing was, it wasn't moving or beckoning him. It was standing there at the edge of the trees waiting, and if you were too far away from it, you would think it was just a tree. But I was close enough now, and there was a reason Lee was staring at it. It was the someone who had always been coming, or so he thought. The one who was walking towards you one step at a time. And here was Lee, approaching it, or at least trying to. "Lee," my voice cracked. "Lee, please." He looked at me, and I saw that flicker again in his eyes, the real him coming out for a moment. He panicked and said, "I can't stop. I don't know how." I hate to admit this next part, because I never would have done it, not in any other situation ever. But I punched him then, square in the jaw. I'd never punched anyone before. I didn't even know how to make a fist properly. For some reason I thought you kept your thumb inside your fingers. I swung and my knuckles connected with his jaw. It was sloppy and it hurt me, but he dropped like someone had cut his strings. I then grabbed him under the arms and started dragging him back toward the van. He was heavy, 180 pounds of dead weight, and my feet kept slipping in the snow. My hands were cramping from the cold and the weight, and behind me, I could hear something. A dragging sound. Something heavy moving across the frozen ground, coming much closer every second. I didn't dare look back. I'd learned enough in the past week to know that some things you shouldn't give a second look. You just run. I made it to Lee's pile of clothes and didn't even stop to grab them. I made it to the van and somehow got the back doors open and somehow hauled Lee inside and somehow got the doors closed behind us. I blame adrenaline. The engine wouldn't start on the first try. Either the cold had thickened the oil, or the universe just wanted me and Lee to suffer a bit more. But it caught on the third attempt, and I threw it into gear and floored the accelerator. The temperature gauge climbed into the red immediately, but I didn't care. I couldn't afford to. I drove with the warning light screaming at me until the tree line was a mile behind us, 5 miles, 10 miles. Thank God we got that far. I drove until the sky started to lighten up. Soon I could make out a work camp ahead. Lights and vehicles and people. I pulled over and finally looked over at Lee. He was unconscious, his breathing shallow. His skin was mottled with the red and white of severe frostbite in places. But he was alive, and when I checked his face, the slack, peaceful expression was gone. He looked like a hurt and confused and very cold Lee. The hospital in Fairbanks saved his life, though they couldn't save all of him. Frostbite had destroyed tissue in both feet, 2 toes on the left and 1 on the right. The surgeons removed them 3 days after we arrived, while I sat in the waiting room and tried to explain to a police officer how my friend had ended up naked in the Alaskan wilderness. I explained that he'd been sleepwalking, that the stress of the trip had gotten to him and I'd found him just in time. Sort of. I could tell they didn't believe my story, but didn't have anything else to go off of. Lee backed up everything I said when he woke up. We were good at playing off of each other like that. When I talked to him alone, he said he didn't remember leaving the van, or taking his clothes off, or walking into the cold. He said the last thing he remembered was falling asleep in the passenger seat, that I had been telling him about a trip my parents had taken to Yellowstone when I was 8. The cut on his hand healed cleanly. The infection that had been spreading up his arm, the dark lines that terrified me, were gone. The doctors were puzzled. They said it looked like it had never been infected at all. Just a clean wound, already starting to close, which now suspiciously looked more like a bite mark. Lee spent 2 weeks in the hospital. I stayed in Fairbanks the whole time, sleeping in the waiting room or in the van in the parking lot, living off of vending machine food and the kindness of nurses who brought me some food on occasion. When they finally discharged him, we drove south together, slowly, carefully, stopping every few hours so Lee could elevate his feet and I could check on the healing. Lee went on to have a decent life. Not perfect. He always struggled with depression on and off, and he spent some time in therapy. He had a rough patch in his 30s when his marriage almost fell apart, but he came through that. He raised 2 kids who loved him, and he held down a job that didn't make him miserable. He grew old with a woman who understood his dark moods and loved him anyway. He walked with a slight limp from the missing toes, but he walked. In fact, I'd say he walked better than most of us ever run. We stayed friends all those years. We would see each other at least once a year, talking on the phone every few weeks. We would send each other stupid articles we found online. He was the best man at my wedding, and I was there when his daughter was born. But through all that, we rarely talked about Alaska. But it was always there between us. This thing we survived together. But then came the pancreatic cancer. Lee passed. He went fast, thankfully. Probably a mercy when you're dealing with that particular disease. And that circles us back around to where I started. His daughter was asking about the scar on his hand, and I lied to her face, telling her I didn't remember how he got it. I told her it was just a long time ago. But here's the truth. I don't know what happened to us back in 1989 in Alaska. I'm not a religious man. I don't believe in ghosts or demons. I've spent 35 years trying to find a rational explanation for what I saw, and I've never found one that satisfied me. I'll try to explain what I think I believe, to at least give you people some satisfaction. I think there are places where something went horribly, terribly wrong a long time ago. Old, dark places. And those places remember things. And sometimes those things reach out, looking for the kind of person they can use. People who are already hurt. People who are already carrying something dark inside them that they can make use of. People like Lee. And the thing I saw in those trees, the tall, burned figure with the insane neck, I don't think it was hunting Lee. I think it was cultivating him. Finding the cracks that were already there and widening them, feeding on his pain, waiting for him to give up and walk right into its arms. And if he had, I don't know what would have happened. I'm just glad I was there to bring him back before he could do that. If you're out there and you're listening or reading this, I'd really love to know what you think it was. Is there a demon or something that matches the description? An entity that feeds on people's sadness or depression? Before I go, let me just say this. If you're ever driving through Alaska, and you see a partially collapsed, old rustic small home through the woods on the side of the road. You should probably forget you ever saw it. That was a touching story. And by touching, I mean it reached into my soul and touched me with its abyssal tendrils. What is this entity? Does it match any known monsters or folklore creatures in North America? Whatever it might be, just make sure to take your next hike or camping trip with a smile. No sad thoughts, got it? Because there could be something out there hungry for your inner darkness. Good night. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Unexplained Encounters. I've been your host, Darkness Prevails. You can follow this podcast every week on Wednesday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app, or catch it on YouTube at Darkness Prevails. If you have a scary true story of the unexplained, send it to me at darkstories.org. Until next time, everyone, stay safe out there and stay creepy, because this world is a strange one.
One plan, one price. Introducing Simplicity from Verizon.
In real estate, timing is everything. Realtor.com's market clock tracks your local market, so you'll always know the right time to make your move. Whether it's a buyer's market or a seller's market, you can stop guessing and start moving.
Some stories people send me leave a bad taste in my mouth, but this one kept me nauseated for the remainder of the day. Which is good, I guess, because I wouldn't want to be too hungry. This story, titled "The Case That Made Me Regret Becoming a Police Officer," from an anonymous individual, describes an extremely disturbing incident that happened just before Christmas in what I believe is Wisconsin. And I sincerely hope it isn't as true as the author claims it to be. They don't say the year this happened, but if there's an ounce of truth to this story, the next time you see snow, you'll be barricading your doors and windows. Because I'm about to tell you how to make a Wendigo. I found them on the morning of December 19th. 3 days after the blizzard had finally stopped. The Tilsons, that was their name, though I would not learn it until later that afternoon, when we ran the plates on what was left of their Dodge Durango. My name is Dale. I've been a deputy for my town's sheriff's department for 11 years, and in that time I've seen my share of things that keep you awake at night. I've seen hunting accidents where a man's face looks like something from a butcher's window. And up here there have been snowmobile crashes, leaving bodies scattered across frozen lakes like broken toys. But nothing, and I want to make that clear here, nothing had ever prepared me for what I found half buried in the snow that morning. It was Benjamin Brierly who called it in.
People are always like, that's not realistic. Not for you, you unwhimsical cunt.
Trying to get his equipment out to a site near the Shawamigan forest line. The plows hadn't made it that far yet, and Benjamin, being Benjamin, had decided to take his truck out anyway, to see how far he could get. He made it about 2 miles before he spotted something dark jutting out of a snow on the shoulder of Gilligan
Y'all,
Road.
please don't scroll.
At first, he told me hills looking for food. But then he saw the chrome of a side mirror catching the morning light, and he knew it was a vehicle. He didn't get out to investigate. Benjamin is 73 years old and has lived in these woods his entire life. He knows better than to go poking. He picked up his truck and drove home. That's when he called the sheriff's office. I was the one who took the call.
Oh, Captain! Dang, you pranked somebody so hard.
Bottom line, are you in
and reverse
or you out?
To get around drifts.
Please, in or out or what?
No time for questions, just action. In or out.
Okay, well then I'm out.
I'm sorry, Jet. Actually, you're already in.
Then why would you ask me?
Because I thought you would go, I'm in, Bob, and we would have had a really cool moment, but you kind of ruined the whole thing. Bottom line, are you in?
The sky was a
Or you
shade
out?
of pale blue,
Please,
which meant
Fiona,
heavy snowfall.
will you marry me?
No more Farquaad. Empty.
But Fiona,
Nothing was moving anywhere except that thin curl of smoke from my cigarette.
I'm a material
Occasional
girl.
cascade of snow
Fiona.
from an overburdened
What are you doing in my house? What are you doing in my house?
I want waffle fries!
What are you doing in my house? What are you doing in my house?
It would be. The snow had drifted up against the driver's side, almost to the window line, and the rear end was completely buried. Only the front passenger side was relatively clear, and that's where I parked my cruiser and got out. What I noticed first was a strange smell. It shouldn't have been possible, not in that cold. At 18 below, everything freezes. Blood, tissue, bacteria causing decomposition. But there was a smell coming from that vehicle. Faint, yes, it was, masked by the clean bite of winter air, but unmistakable. It was the smell of meat. Raw meat that had been left out too long. Sweet and thick. I approached the Durango with my hand on my sidearm, though I couldn't have told you what I expected to find. A bear, perhaps, one that had gotten into the vehicle and could not get out. It happens sometimes. Could be a pack of coyotes that had somehow forced their way in and were still inside, feeding on something or each other. But even as I thought about it, I knew that didn't make sense. The doors were closed, and the side windows I could see were intact. But as I got closer, I saw the rear window was a different story. It had been shattered completely, jagged teeth of glass still clinging to the frame, frozen blood smeared along the bottom edge. I remember thinking, this is where it got in. The passenger side window was frosted over from the inside. I pulled my sleeve down over my hand and wiped a clear patch in the eyes. I looked in.
I want what? I'll solve this problem with my 4 hyper-intelligent brains. I'm hungry. I'm cold. I'm itchy. Pussy.
Am I right, lads, or am I right, lads?
A woman in the front passenger seat.
Where is he?
And 2
You are right, lad.
Cheers, lad. Where were you, lad?
Sorry, lad, I was busy, lad.
That's alright, lad.
I won't let you down again, though, lad.
Appreciate that, lad.
See you, lad.
Am I right, lads, or am I right, lads?
Sophie. But right then,
where is he?
You are right, lad.
Cheers, lad. Where were you, lad?
Sorry, lad, I was busy, lad.
That's alright, lad.
I won't let you down again, though, lad.
Appreciate that, lad.
See you, lad.
Am I right, lads, or am I right, lads?
Margaret Tilson was still wearing her seatbelt.
Where is he?
You are right, lad.
Cheers, lad. Where were you, lad?
Sorry, lad, I was busy, lad.
That's alright, lad.
I won't let you down.
Were filled over by frost. Her coat, a red parka, cheerful and bright, was torn open at the chest, and beneath it, her sweater was
Damn you, I will not be ignored!
and her shoulders, her arms, bite marks, dozens of them overlapping and ragged, the flesh torn away in chunks to expose the white of bone beneath. I stepped back from the window. My breath was now coming fast.
Will. Alright, 1 bag of chips, that'll be $4.83. Oh, I think I have a coupon for that, actually.
I've seen violence before. I've seen what humans do to each other when they're drunk.
Alright, 1 bag of chips, that'll be $4.83. Oh, I think I have a coupon for that, actually.
Anything I'd ever seen. I made myself go back to that window. I had to look again because that's my job. And because somewhere in the back of my mind, a voice was telling me that what I was seeing could not be real. That I must be mistaken. There had to be some explanation that didn't involve what those wounds so clearly suggested. The kids in the back seat were worse. They had been, well, it's hard to describe it without sounding clinical, and I apologize for that. But clinical is the only way I can get through this part. They had been partially consumed. Large portions of soft tissue had been removed from their arms and legs and torsos. Andrew, the boy, was missing most of his left thigh. The girl, Sophie, had wounds on her face that had taken her cheeks and her lips and most of her nose. And there was the driver's seat. The driver's seat was empty. I walked around to the rear of the vehicle, where the broken window gaped like a wound. Below it, the snow was disturbed, a rough, irregular furrow cutting through the drifts toward the tree line about 30 yards away. It looked like something had been dragged. The trail was smeared with blood, dark against the white snow, and it led into the forest, disappearing into the shadows between the pines. Something had been pulled out of that vehicle. That was my assumption. That was the only thing that made sense. I called it in. I stood there in the snow beside that charnel house of a vehicle, and I called Sheriff Carnegie, telling him what I'd found, telling him we needed everyone, medical examiner, state police, search and rescue, everyone. Then I went back to my cruiser, and I sat in the driver's seat with the heater running and the doors locked, and I watched the tree line until backup arrived. I want to be clear about something.
All right, one bag of chips.
I was not afraid of what I might find. I was afraid of
This is Monica, Yuri, and Natsuki. And you already know me.
Leading into the forest.
If you stream on Twitch,
constructed a narrative in my mind. A story that made sense of what I'd seen. A family.
When I first met you, I thought you were weird and annoying.
I killed you. Their GPS and you killed me. The car goes on.
Why'd you kill that guy?
Motherfucker, he killed himself!
I killed you. They can't get out. They try their phones, but there's no signal out there. There never is. They wait for help that doesn't come. And then, something finds them. Something comes out of those woods. A bear or a pack of wolves. Whatever it is, it tears open the car, gets inside, and begins to feed. Then it drags the father, drags him out into the snow and into the woods, and that's where we'll find what's left of him.
hey Meta, play gorgeous. Hey, thank you.
Olipop is a high-fiber soda that supports digestive health, sending goodness inside. And when
That's the story I told myself. The story I believed. I was wrong. The team arrived within the hour. Sheriff Carnegie came himself, which told me he understood the severity of what we were dealing with. He's a big man, Carnegie, with a stone-cold serious face and hands that could crush granite. He'd been a sheriff for 15 years, and in all that time I've never seen him rattled. But when he looked through that frost-covered window and saw what was inside, his face went pale, and he stepped back. He said a phrase I'd never heard him say before. Jesus Christ. The medical examiner's van arrived 20 minutes later. Dr. Marnella Verde, we call her Marnie, climbed out with her two assistants, and I watched her face as she approached the vehicle. She's a small woman, about 5'2", with dark hair and equally dark eyes. And she has the steadiest hands I have ever seen. I've watched her perform autopsies on bodies that would make most people vomit, and she never flinches, never even looks away. But she looked at the Tilson family, and I saw her flinch. "Get me a full kit. she said to her assistants. Her voice was flat, controlled. "And call Dr. Ptactace in Ashland. Tell him I need a consult. Tell him it's urgent." "What is it?" I asked. "What do you see?" Marnie looked at me. Her dark eyes were unreadable. "I see a lot of things that don't add up, Deputy. And I'm not going to speculate until I've had a chance to examine them properly. But I will tell you this." She paused. She glanced back at the vehicle. "Those wounds weren't made by any animal I'm familiar with." "What do you mean?" I asked. "Just the pattern and the radius to the bites. The entire methodology is wrong." She shook her head. "I'll know more once I get them back to the lab. But right now I don't know what made those wounds. Not even a guess." I pointed toward the tree line. "There's a drag trail leading into the woods. A wedding band on the woman's finger, empty driver's seat. We're assuming a fourth victim, the father. Whatever got in through that rear window must have hauled him out the same way." Marnie studied the trail for a moment, then turned back toward her van. "I'll know more once I examine the remains." Then she walked away. Search and rescue assembled their team. They strapped on their snowshoes and checked their radios and loaded their rifles. Because whatever had done this, nobody wanted to meet it unarmed. I watched them disappear into the trees, following that frozen river of blood into the shadows. 3 hours later, they came back empty-handed. The trail, they told me, went on for almost a mile. It wound through the trees in a wandering, irregular path, as if whatever was making it didn't know where it was going, or didn't care.
You killed.
There were places where the blood was so thick it had melted through the snow to the frozen ground beneath. There were other places, they found pieces. Small pieces of something that might have been clothing, or perhaps flesh. It was impossible to tell in that cold.
Lazy.
But they hadn't found
for
a
that.
body
And
yet.
if you're
Eventually,
if
the trail
y'all are just
tapered
gonna
out.
keep
A combination of
redeeming
wild
draw
animals,
me
wind, and heavy
beans,
snowfall can do that. That night, I
then
went home to
I'm
my
not.
apartment in town. I sat at my kitchen.
Bad guy, I'm a savage, I'm obsessive, I'm dramatic, I'm a loner, I'm an addict. I'm the bad guy, I'm a savage, I'm obsessive.
Outside my window,
feelings?
the snow began to fall again. Light flurries at first, then thicker,
Hey there, I went
heavier,
to
until the
scroll on my
streetlight on the
TikTok when I
corner
went
was just a
to my
fuzzy
bathroom
orange
break.
glow in a world of white.
People are always.
I watched it for a while. Drank, too. And I told myself we'd likely find the victim tomorrow. The fourth one. That he was out there somewhere in those woods, buried under the snow right now, waiting to be discovered. That was before the report came in. The call came in at 6:47 the following evening. I remember the exact time as I was sitting in the station break room, watching the clock and waiting for my shift to come to an end, when Carnegie appeared in the doorway with a look on his face that made me feel sick. "We've got a situation," he said. "The Lindqvist place, out on County Road Ave. Something attacked a little girl." I was on my feet before he finished speaking. "Attacked? Is she?" "She's alive. Shaken up bad, but alive. Her dog drove it off, whatever it was." Carnegie grabbed his coat from the hook by the door. "I need you out there, Dale. You were first on the scene yesterday. If this is connected, I want continuity." The Lindqvist farm was about 6 miles east of where we'd found the Tilsons. I was there in about 15 minutes, my cruiser fishtailing on the icy roads as I pushed it faster than what was safe. The snow had stopped falling sometime during the night, but the clouds were still low and heavy, and the light was fading fast. By the time I pulled into the Lindqvist driveway, the sky was the color of a bruise. The farmhouse was old but well-maintained, a 2-story clapboard structure with a wraparound porch and Christmas lights strung along the eaves. They were blinking red and green against the gathering darkness, and for some reason that detail struck me as obscene. Those cheerful lights, that festive glow, 4 days until Christmas, and somewhere out there in the woods, something was hunting. Carl Lindqvist met me at the door. He was a big man, Swedish stock, hands like shovels. I'd known him most of my life, actually. He'd been friends with my father back when my father was still around, and I'd never seen him look the way he looked that night. His face was stricken. His eyes were red-rimmed and wet. He kept glancing over his shoulder toward the interior of the house, like he was expecting something to come lunging out of the shadows. "She's in the kitchen," he said, "with her mother. She won't stop shaking, Dale. She won't stop." "What happened?" Carl shook his head. "She was walking back from her friend's place, only a half-mile through the backfield. She's made that walk hundreds of times. She had the dog with her, thank God. Bruno." He paused and swallowed. "Something came out of those trees. Something came after her." The kitchen was warm and bright, smelling like coffee and cinnamon. Anna Lindqvist was sitting at the table with her daughter in her lap, rocking her gently back and forth. The girl, her name was Rachel. I remember now, Rachel Lindqvist. She'd been in the Christmas pageant at the Lutheran church last year. She was wrapped in a heavy quilt, shivering despite the heat from the wood stove in the corner.
I killed you,
nearly translucent,
and you
and her eyes
killed
had a
me.
distant, unfocused
Why'd you kill that guy? Motherfucker, he killed himself!
I'd seen that look before. It was the look of someone whose mind was trying very hard to be anywhere else. In the corner by the stove, lying on a folded blanket, was a German Shepherd. Bruno. He lifted his head when I came in and regarded me with dark but smart eyes. There was a bandage wrapped around his hindquarters, spotted with blood that had seeped through the gauze. "Deputy Purcell," said Anna. Her voice was steady, but I could see the effort it cost her. "Thank you for coming." "Mrs. Lindqvist." I pulled out a chair and sat down across from them, keeping my movements slow. "Hi, Rachel.
What are you doing in my house?"
It's hard, but I need you to tell me what happened. Can you do that? Rachel didn't respond. She kept staring at some point over my shoulder, her small body trembling beneath the quilt. "She hasn't spoken since she came home," said Anna. "Not a word. She just sits there and shakes." I leaned forward. "Rachel, look at me, sweetheart." Reluctantly, the girl's eyes drifted to my face. They were blue, those eyes, a pale washed-out blue that reminded me of the winter sky. And there was something in them that made me want to look away. A knowledge, an awareness of something that no child should ever have to know. "I need you to tell me what you saw," I told her. "I know it's scary. I know you don't want to think about it. But there might be other people in danger, and you may be the only one who can help them. Do you understand?" Rachel stared at me. Eventually, she nodded, just slightly. "I was walking home," she said. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "Through the back field. Bruno was with me. He always walks with me." "That's good. What time was this?" "I don't know. It was getting dark, and my friend's mom gave me cookies to bring home, and I was carrying them in a bag, and Bruno was running ahead of me, the way he always does." She paused. She pulled the quilt tighter around her shoulders. "And then he stopped." "Bruno stopped?" "Yes, he just stopped, right in the middle of the field. And he turned around and looked at me, and he was making this sound." Rachel's voice cracked. This sound like whining and growling at the same time. Like he was scared and angry, both at once. I glanced over at the dog in the corner. He had lowered his head back into his paws, but his eyes were still fixed on me. And there was something watchful in his gaze. He was still very alert. "What did you do?" "I stopped too. I looked where Bruno was looking, at the trees." Rachel's hands emerged from beneath the quilt, and gripped the edge of the table. Her knuckles were white. There was something there. Something in the trees watching us. Did you see what it was? No, not at first. It was just a shape, a dark shape, kind of hunched over between the trunks. But it was moving, swaying back and forth like it was. She broke off. Her breathing was coming faster now, shallow and rapid. Like it was excited. Anna pulled her daughter close, pressing her lips to the top of Rachel's head. It's okay, baby. You're safe now, you're safe. But Rachel wasn't finished. The words were spilling out now, tumbling out of her in a rush, as if some dam had broken inside her and everything she'd been holding back was flooding out at once. It came out of the trees. It came out, and it started to run towards us. And it was so fast. Bruno ran at it, and I heard them. I heard... She was crying now, tears streaming down her pale cheeks. I heard Bruno screaming. Dogs don't scream, but he was screaming. And there were these sounds, wet sounds, and I ran, and I didn't look back. I just ran until I got to the porch, and Daddy was there, and... She dissolved into sobs, burying her face against her mother's chest. I sat there and watched her cry, and I felt something cold settle into the pit of my stomach. Something that had been there since I'd first looked through the frost-covered window and found what was left of the Tilson family. Rachel, I said gently, I need to ask you one more thing. The shape you saw, the thing that came out of the trees, did you see what it looked like? Rachel raised her head. Her face was wet with tears and her nose was running, and she looked so young, so impossibly young. It looked like a man, but wrong, all wrong. It was moving like a man, but also like he was an animal, on its hands and feet sometimes, and it was making sounds. What kind of sounds? Rachel's face crumbled. Hungry sounds. It sounded hungry, she whispered.
Let's go now, 15, faster now. Faster. 0.15. Gotta be faster. Fractions of a second. Hey, there we go.
Alright, I have every video uploaded till next
Did you
Wednesday.
know you might get a big cash payout if you were in a car accident up to 1 year ago, even if you weren't driving? Just click the link around this video to see how much you can get. Just answer 5 simple questions, and it only takes 30 seconds. If you got hurt by a driver in last year, you might be owed money without even knowing it. You could get a check just like this one, maybe even more. Click the link now to find out. Tens of thousands of people have received a 5-figure or even a 6-figure check without going to court, paying big legal fees, or dealing with insurance companies or greedy attorneys. Even if you were a pedestrian, rideshare user, cyclist, or a motorcyclist, you can get the justice you deserve.
Okay, let's close that. Let's move that down. Okay, let's close all of those tabs. Twitch. I just gotta double check someone really quickly. So I'm gonna be muting myself. Okay, I'm back. Okay. With that, let's play a game. Let's go to Steam. Okay. Actually, let's do a practice run of Dark Souls 1, level 1. Because we're gonna be doing Dark Souls 1 through 3 in August. So I figure if we just do a couple practice runs, it should be fine. And I just gotta download it real quickly. It's only 6 gigabytes. Should be going relatively fast. It's already at like 15% within just talking like this, so it won't take too long. It's at 25, but I will be changing my stream titles. Okay, now to update Twitch's side. Now. Okay, let's reload that. Okay, so it looks like Dark Souls is Okay, so it looks like Dark Souls is now, let's go to... Yes, dear chat? Why don't I see chat? Alrighty. Should be relatively fine. Although I am now a little big. I swear I heard someone text. Okay. Okay, now I'm seeing the chat on screen. Perfect. Alrighty. Alright. Time to do our test run of... There it is. Now it's full screen. Hell yeah. Divine, level 1. Sex? It doesn't really matter. Male or female, it doesn't really... Like female. Yeah, depraved. Gift. We're gonna need the master key for sure. Restore a royalty. Oh, welcome Insight Pro. How are you? Let me give you a little shout out here. I'm gonna give you a little shout out. So, how's work? I finished editing videos up until next Wednesday. Yeah, and then I also, then I'm doing like a test run for my Dark Souls trilogy level 1 run. So I'm starting with Dark Souls 1 because it's the easiest Dark Souls. So we're doing that right now.
Now draw her pregnant.
Listen here, you motherfucker. Listen here, you motherfucker. No, motherfucker. I thought we had an agreement. Okay, first, before anything can happen with that, I'm gonna pause that redeem, you sick, twisted motherfucker. I'm gonna pause that motherfucker. Channel. You sick and twisted little man. Okay, view rewards, power-up points, manage power-ups. Scroll down. Let's do 100. It's pretty easy to find. Okay. Turn that shit off. Okay. Okay, so. That's gonna have a cooldown of 4 hours. You are a sick and twisted man, and my friend. Well, if you wanted to throw away points, there's plenty of other things you could have done. Hi, Chris. How are you? Yes, other than Sunday. Okay? Seems fair, okay? Because last time on Sunday, y'all had me drawing for 5 goddamn hours. On a fucking mouse and keyboard, my friend. What was I doing? Alright, MS Paint. Now I gotta search up a fucking cow. At least it's white, which will be kinda easy. Maybe? But you're a sick and twisted little man. Okay. Okay, file. Import from file. Actually, it'd be in screenshots. Okay. Now for this, we're gonna... You're a menace to society, Poutine. You're worse than I am when scaring Koneko. And that's saying a lot. Didn't get me that time. Good try, though. Nice try, Aisha. Nice try. Poutine fucking redeemed it. I actually had to put on a timer this time. I finally added an actual, like, timer to it. So now it can't be redeemed till 4 hours later. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is good drawing practice. Even though I'm not very good at drawing. This is still better than a lot of people, though. Tracing is just kind of what I do. I made a moo-moo. Actually, wait. That's what I forgot. That's what I forgot. I made a moo-moo. I mean, you have the redeem available to you. Do whatever you want. I don't mind when y'all do that one. Okay. Post this shit to Twitter now.
I don't care if you're a guy. Put on the fucking maid outfit.
Yeah, I know. I got big boobas. Okay, that's posted to Twitter. I know. They're so jiggly. How? Oh, yes. How was your nap? How was your nap? Was it restful? Okay. Save. Moo. Moo moo. That's sad. That's kind of sad, Aisha. I was initially supposed to be playing a collab today, but they were having technical issues, and I told them to @ me when they were done with their technical fixing. Okay. It's okay. It's okay. You can look. But anyway, I'm gonna be doing a little test run before I was rudely interrupted by Poutine, mind you. I'm gonna be doing a test run of Dark Souls, the trilogy, at level 1, just to see what I'm getting into later. I got the boobas. Shut up. I don't care. I already know the story. I have over 1,000 hours in this game. I don't care. Okay, I just need to switch the... Right weapon, strong attack. I want the B and A to be low. Yes. It's been a while since I played this game. That's the strong attack. Right weapon attack, A. Right weapon strong attack. Use item. Jump is also right trigger. It's been so long since I played this game. Do you see the big booty demon? Backstab, idiot. feel like... Get back, you idiot. But why? Why is it locked? Oh. That's stupid. I picked up the Estus flask just fine, but that, no. No. Nyeh. Oh, I've never noticed that you can hear him growling from in there. I still got it. Okay, time to traverse. Big booty bouncer. What do you mean network connection? I was single player. That's fine. Thank you, big booty bouncer. These souls are fucking useless to me. Very limiting to be like this. this enemy does not spawn in until you get here. You ever see? That's really neat, isn't it? Huh? I'm gonna backstab him. Some armor is better than no armor. I was stuck here for the longest time when I first started playing. I got fucking blocks in the fucking head. Fun fact, you take more damage when you're shot in the head. I know, it's surprising, right? That doesn't matter. Oh, that would have been better. Good if he had dropped his shield. There was a really good weapon. Oh, right. Thank you for the reminder. Also, that kind of fucked me up. That's how you... Interesting, interesting. Aww. Yes, I'm just a little floating jar. That's rubbish. It's... You see... But either way, there's an item over here that's kinda useful. Actually, humanity is really freaking useful. because it has a passive effect. If you have 10, it increases your maximum defense, especially when you have maximum amount of humanity. So that's good to know. Hey, dumb shit. Okay, now we're gonna light this fire. Like, we won't respawn at it, but it's good to have. There we are. Cool, a spear.
Well, you see, I try.
Okay, so now, first of all, we're gonna need, I don't know. Let's go with, I don't know, 25 bombs. Okay. We are gonna need the residence key in the bottommost box, and then the reinforced club is really good because it has bleed on it. Let's put on some pants.
Hey, what's the matter?
Because as you can see, that's a relatively decent jump. I should actually properly rest after this. There. Okay. Then there's a chest in here which can get you something, which is a black firebomb, which are the strongest version of firebombs, which we plan on doing them to mess with the... Okay, because if I eke them out one by one... Oh, there's a firebomb one. Longsword is pretty nice, but it's not gonna be. But if we can get that guy's weapon, that'd be really sweet. Although I don't think we'd be able to officially wield it. Okay. I do not believe these can be bled. It's been so long since I cared for those shadows. It's gonna take a little bit to get reacquainted with the parrying, but those guys are relatively very easy to parry. Alrighty. Reinforced club is. That's not what I wanted. I think I need to click Y and right button. Actual armor, but at least I got my souls closer. Like, sure, I could. Hello. No, but it's on a timer for 4 hours.
Now draw her pregnant.
Okay, no. No, I put that on the fucking timer. That should not have worked. Did I press save, though? That was probably the issue. Oh. Fucker, I swear I pressed save on that. You want a singular bean. Just a bean. Okay, give me a sec. I'm messing with the... Okay, good. Okay. Okay. Alright, a bean. A singular fucking bean. No, that's terrible. Bean. Fine, I'll put it on my Twitter as time waster. Oh, that does remind me. I gotta check the... Okay, looks like they haven't texted me yet. Okay.
Squat! 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 Squat!
You really like wasting my time. Alright. You're an evil man. Now I shall... You'll disappear again, you little shit. You little shit. You little shit. 40-pound dumbbell. 40-pound dumbbell. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Dumb. You're an evil little man. Harry. Where the fuck did that little shit come from? What is live building in Twitch without ever even streaming? Oh yeah, that's probably because... Yeah, I can probably tell you why. Let me check. Oh! You only have 3 followers? That is weird. That is weird, Poutine. Yeah, I know it's a streamer achievement. I have it. I have it, but they're kind of useless for the achievements for the most part. Let's see. Yeah. Oh well. But yeah, I have it. It appears I have lost a follower at some point during this stream. Yet I don't know when. Or why. Or how. But I have. You. It was you. Oh, I got humanity. That means my defense increased a bit. Yes. Perfect. I'm gonna get the shortcut first before I fuck with Havel. Yeah, I'm not fucking with Havel right now. but... Ooh, we also got a large Titanite shard for that. Hell fucking yeah. Oh wait, no, I better deal with those ding-dongs first before summoning the boss. Buffy. Hello. Yes. Yes, Poutine. What's with the potato? What's with the potato? Eh? Potentially be easier just to... Nah. I need Havel's. You can parry Havel, but, it's a very bad idea. I would much rather strafe around him. He really had me. I'm not even sure if Havel can bleed. I'm guessing not, based on him not doing jack war shit. Let's make some distance. Get him more out in the open so I don't get locked, you know. Whoa, shit. See, that is exactly why I'm afraid of fucking Havel. That shit. If I had more healing, actually, I probably would have been fine, but, like, no. No. I think I'll go the other way around. Just because it's probably gonna be easier. Yeah, that was way easier. Have I been added yet? Oh. No, I have not. Alright. All those souls just gone because of a regular ass hollow. That's great. Fantastic. I think today is just going to be a little shorter stream. Oh well. I'll just raid out to someone. I'm tired. I want to go to bed a little bit. Or sleep a couple hours before work. Okay. Who should I raid? Let's see which one of my muties, my mutuals. Ooh, Suki! I haven't seen her in a very long time. Yeah. Let's raid Suki. There's the raid message if you want to do that. I'll give it a couple minutes. I'll give it about 30 seconds. I should mention my phone did die at some point. Okay. That's good. That's good. Bye-bye.